Welcome to Being Me, a show that is a self-awareness toolbox. We are here to tell you about all the healing and wellness modalities in Kenya and to help you safeguard your mental and emotional well-being. My name is Carolyne Gaithuma, I'm your host, and in today's episode we are talking about transpersonal regression therapy. And with me on set is an amazing therapist. She's been here before, Natalia Sikalova. Welcome back.
Thank you, Caroline.
It's always a pleasure to have you here. Yeah.
It's my pleasure.
Awesome, awesome. So today we are talking about transpersonal regression therapy. What is that?
Okay. Transpersonal regression therapy comes out of two premises. The first one, that we have a problem, and the problem didn't start now. It started sometime in your past. And the second is that we can heal the problem. We can resolve the problem if we really have good approach. If we really want to solve it, we can solve it.
Yeah.
And in transpersonal regression therapy, the word speaks for itself. Regression therapy. We go back to the starting event, to the initial event which started our trauma.
Yeah.
We relive it, we go through it, we understand it from the position of an adult we are today. And the problem stops being a problem. You have a memory, but you have no energy or no emotions attached to it. And by healing the initial starting event, we can open new possibilities and new roads and new ways for ourselves.
Yeah.
And transpersonal regression therapy, why it's transpersonal? Because it also not only focused on the personality, me as a person, but it also comes from understanding that I as a person, I'm not only a physical being, I'm also an energetic being, I'm also a soul, I have a soul. And as an energetic being, I can carry with me or on me particles of other people's energies or events' energies. So it comes from transpersonal.
Wow.
Yeah.
And something else that I find interesting about transpersonal regression, you talked about going back to the past, and you've talked about us being energetic beings, us being a soul. And that changes the whole perspective of what past we are talking about. Because if I'm talking about the personality, me as Carol, my past goes to maybe up until my mother was carrying me in my womb. But if I see myself as a soul, as an energetic being, how far does my past go? I
think it's a very interesting question. And I don't have a clear answer to that.
Yeah.
But what I can say, as a soul, you can go to the beginning of the world.
Of time.
Beginning of time.
Yeah.
Yes. So in regressing people in therapy, there is a very simple command. One of the techniques we give. If a person comes with a problem, and if it's emotional problem or energetic problem, we give a simple command. We say, go back in time. When you felt so and so for the first time. And then it's a mind of a person, it's not the therapist or mind of conscious mind of a client, but subconscious mind of a person takes you there where you need to go.
Yeah.
And you can go into, I would say, 3 places, and it's like my understanding, my opinion.
Yeah.
It may not sit well with many people.
Yeah.
With some other people. So you can go back into 3 so-called places. You can go back into some time in your childhood, when something happened to you.
Yeah.
You can go in utero, when your mom was pregnant with you, and we talked about it in our child regression therapy.
Yeah.
Or you can go to your past life. The life you lived before this physical current incarnation.
Yeah.
That's 3 places we can go to find the issues with burdening us in our current time, in this life.
Yeah. And I know there's a lot of controversy about past lives and a lot of controversy even about memory in utero. But some of these things, I feel, and I want to tell the viewer that you take these things based on your discernment. If you feel that this is something that you are open to and you want to look into, then you go into it. If it generates some fear, you work with your fear, you work with your boundaries, and also allow yourself to just get the information and filter with your discernment. So when we talk about those three places, those are three places that when you're going into regression, you're going to trauma points.
Exactly. Exactly. You go to where the trauma originated.
Yeah.
It may have many layers, a number of layers on top of it. For example, if you had initial trauma in your past life and then it was, I have a very interesting story to tell about it, and then it's re-traumatized in your current life, for example, in childhood or in older years, then then it can also have a negative effect on your physical state of being, on the being of your physical body. And the story, if I may say, it's very, very interesting story. Number of years ago, a man came, and he had very not unusual, but he had a sick throat. He was taking 6 to 7 courses of antibiotics a year.
Wow.
By the time he came to me. And I was very new in the field, so I was going by the book, you know, session by session. I was not really ready to tackle the issue, what is it about. So we did quite a number of sessions, and then I finally gathered up my courage, and I said, go back in time, where the issue started for the first time, the sore throat. And he regressed into past life when he was a Roman soldier in sometime during Roman Empire, and he was just normal village boy. The village got the news that enemy is going to attack. So some soldiers came, but it was false news. There was no attack. And then when the soldiers were leaving, he decided to go with the soldiers and become a soldier. His career went well, he rose up in ranks, but at one point at the end of his life, he was betrayed and he was killed and his throat was slashed. And he died with the thought, I'm betrayed, and the shock. So hundreds of years passed. And he was born in this life, and as a small child, something happened to him, triggering event, which triggered that past life memory when he was about 4 or 5 years old. And since that time, his throat was becoming worse and worse and worse and worse, until we had those therapy sessions. So, and he, at the end of his life, he raised in ranks, but he died horribly. His throat was slashed and he was betrayed. First he was betrayed and then his throat was slashed. And he died with that thought, I am betrayed by my own people. And then when he was born in this life, something happened when he was about 4 or 5 years old, which triggered that past life event. And he started having sore throat. And he was in his, I think, late 50s when he came to me and was taking 6-7 courses of antibiotics a year. So we started working with him, let's say, in March. And we couldn't have sessions every week. It was probably some every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. And I think then I went on holidays, came back. So I think the last session we had in November that year. He took the last course of antibiotics in August of that year. And the year was 2016. Now it's July 2020. He almost 4 years, 1 month short, 4 years without antibiotics.
Wow. Because he resolved whatever trauma.
Exactly. When we look from the perspective of our beings being now and here, we look at the past traumas, whether in childhood or in the past life, but we look from the perspective of who we are now, with our knowledge and with our wisdom. And we kind of dissolve the
Yeah.
energy of trauma. And
It
then the
ceases
physical,
to be trauma, right?
it's just a memory. There is no
Yeah.
emotions and there is no triggers
Mm.
attached to it.
Wow. And that's transpersonal regression. And, you know, why is it that trauma really is at the background of, you know, it's like a buzz at the background that sort of runs our life and our emotional and mental well-being? Because when we're talking about emotional and well-being, our wellness is determined by how much present we are to our traumas and how much of that we have resolved. So tell us about traumas and how the mind works, because I think that's the basis of all of this. Yeah.
So something happens, whatever, maybe, let's say you're in a traffic accident. You drive, you very peacefully drive, and then another car smashes into you.
Yeah.
And because of the suddenness of what happened, you didn't expect it, you didn't think it would happen, the suddenness sends you into a shock. You freeze. And you freeze energetically, you freeze emotionally, you freeze mentally.
Yeah.
And then, of course, because the life goes on, you have to go out of the car and start seeing what really happened. But that frozen moment stays in your memory, stays in your mind. You may consciously have forgotten about it, but it stays in the back of your subconscious mind, which is ever recording machine recording all your experiences. And then another incident happens, and then another trauma happens, and then or a pattern, or if the same kind of trauma happens again and again as abusive parents, and then we fall into a rut, you know, like when you drive through the mud and you fall into a rut and you cannot come out of it. And you drive in that rut, it's like on the train tracks. You cannot move, you cannot swerve, you fall in the tracks. And that's what trauma does to us. It puts you on the track, and it kind of also closes our perspective. You know, it's like we are in like horse in blinders. We don't see. And when we start healing, when we start working on ourselves, and of course I wouldn't recognize. So you know, the trauma came because I had an accident. No, something is not working in your life. Maybe you're afraid to drive. Or maybe you're afraid of loud noises or shakes, And then you go to therapist, and the therapist takes you back where it started. And it started during that road accident. So and then you come off the tracks. So you can go right, you can go left, you can go up and down, you can explore.
And I love that allegory. I love that because sometimes, because when we think that we don't have any problem or any issue, because I think sometimes problems are God-sent, because those are the ones that tell you you're on a track. Because you can feel the resistance of like you don't see another way, you only see this way. But sometimes when we are having a good life and we are happy, we don't see the tracks and we don't think we are on the tracks.
Exactly, we don't see the tracks because we fall into the routine, into the pattern, the pattern, and we don't always recognize that it's destructive pattern. For example, my husband comes in the evening and has a drink every evening. He doesn't see a problem in it. But what is it that he's trying to pacify himself? What he is replacing, what has been lost in his life that he's replacing with the drink? Very interestingly, the reasons why people come to regression therapy in Hans ten Dam book, this is our manual, and Hans ten Dam is a father of transpersonal regression therapy. But it's not only a manual, it's also a very interesting read for people with open mind. He names a number of problems people come to sort with the help of the regression therapy. And it's relationship problems, business problems, depressions, fears and phobias, works, wonders, fears and phobias, feeling stuck in life. Everything is good, but maybe I'm not progressing the way I
Yeah.
want to progress.
Yeah.
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 Or I feel I feel lonely. I don't feel I belong
Yeah.
with the group of people who my family is or my co-workers are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or inhibitions, yeah, like scared to speak on public.
Yeah.
So there so many issues can be resolved.
Yeah.
And it also, transpersonal regression therapy, it's also talking about road accidents.
Yeah.
It also deals with physical traumatic events, like road accidents, like aftermath of operations. For
Yes.
example, you go for operation and you're not healing well.
Yeah.
So that's when you go for regression therapy and help your physical body be healed with the alternative
Yeah.
approach. And accident trauma release, people who has been in traumatic circumstances, for example, those who has been in the war,
Yeah.
they're so traumatized,
Yeah.
and they carry, like we were talking about, we transpersonal regression therapy. Sometimes I was saying we carry patterns of other people or other events.
Yeah.
So you're so traumatized by the event in the war, and people dying right, left, and center around you.
Yeah.
And losing loved ones,
Yeah.
you may also carry the patterns, the particles of their energy. When your friend dies in your arms,
Yeah. You're left with that pattern.
yeah.
Wow, I want us to go on a break, and when we come back, you're going to tell us your experience, and you're also going to show us, you're going to actually tell us what happens in a session. So don't go anywhere, don't touch that dial, we'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Being Me, the show that is a self-awareness toolbox telling you about all the healing and wellness modalities in Kenya. And on this episode, we're talking about transpersonal regression therapy with Natalia Sikalova. And before we went on a break, we promised that she was going to tell us how a session is. How does a session look like? Is it the same for everybody? What happens in a session?
I cannot even pinpoint two same sessions ever, even with the same person. The sessions are always different, the approach is different, the regression is different. So when a person has a problem, and first of all, they need to recognize that they have a problem, to come for therapy. When they have a problem, they come, and problem can be, as we discussed, from different variety of the problems. First of all, is very important is intake. Intake of some family history, what the problem is, and how does it affect the person. It's very important. What limitations it puts in life. And then depending on the intake, I choose the right approach, because the number of what we can say doors to go into your past, to go into your subconscious. So I choose right approach, and using this approach, the person regresses into the past, and we were saying it's either childhood, in utero, or past life. And then we need to see what happens, to explore and fully understand what happens, what kind of trauma. Was the person killed, betrayed, humiliated, confined, not allowed to speak, on and on and on. And then we see the whole story, we understand the story, then we do some work there, some energy work there and then. And then we come to a present time, to present personality, and we see and we understand from the perspective of me today. I understand what happened and how it affects, and we break that pattern. We break the trauma, we break that energy. So it just becomes a memory, and it doesn't become a trigger.
Wow. So how do people respond? Because when you regress, you're actually reliving that past, you're reliving that memory. So do people openly accept what they see as their past, because I could regress and find myself, I was maybe Constantine. And I'm like, no, or I was Shakespeare. You know, like, how do people respond and accept or reject these experiences or episodes of regression? Yeah.
Yes, of course, what you mentioned in the beginning, relief.
Yeah.
Our school, the number of schools
Yeah.
of regression therapy, our school believes in full relieving of the event, however ugly, horrible, and painful it is. But mind, one of my teachers said to me once, and it's a fantastic phrase, and I love it. Thank you, Yuvraj Kapadia, he told me.
Yeah.
Your mind is not a moron. Your mind is not an idiot. Yeah? It will not take you back to trauma which you cannot process, relieve and process in the current time. Sometimes traumas is like, you know, like a cabbage. Yeah, leave over leave over leave.
Yeah.
So if you are able to go into the core and relieve it and release it, it will take you there. If it feels, no, you can only touch at this moment because you're not strong enough. You can only touch the top layer. Then it will take you to the top layer. And the next session, maybe you go deeper, and then you go deeper, and then you go deeper.
Yeah.
And again, your mind will not show you something which you cannot process. No, it will not, because it, like in your teaser, there was a young man who was speaking about the brain. The brain is designed to heal itself.
Yeah.
Amazing phrase. Your
Yeah.
body is also designed to heal itself.
Yeah.
So the mind is also, is not designed to kill you. It's designed to preserve you, to preserve your life, your being.
Yeah.
So you can only go back to those events which you can relieve and transform and heal at this moment.
Yeah.
Maybe down the line, few sessions later, a few months later, you go even deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now you go as
Now you
only
go-
deep,
Yeah.
as you can.
As
Yeah.
it allows you, as it
Yeah.
knows that you are willing and capable of handling.
Capable of handling.
Yeah. It keeps you safe.
Yeah.
So now we are in the middle of a pandemic, and there's a lot of trauma and re-traumatizing, and you know, how do you see this therapy being of use and of benefit to people, especially at this time?
I can give you my personal example. Some few years back, I had, about 10 years back, I had collapsed lung. Yeah? And I could still feel it sometimes. I did some healing work on it. It healed. But then during the COVID, and you know the COVID affects your lungs.
Yes.
And I was actually terrified. You know, I had collapsed lung. What happens if I catch COVID? I'm living in my country by myself. My son is abroad. What happens to me? On and on and on. I was re-traumatized.
Yeah.
So what happened? I did a therapy. I called my teacher and I said, you know what? That's what's happening to me.
Yeah.
I am horrified. I feel the pain. I didn't feel the pain before. I feel the pain. I am traumatized. I am afraid to go out. I'm so afraid of catching that virus. So she said, okay, no problem. And we had a session. I had my own session as a client with my teacher.
Yeah.
And we found some, again, I was saying, attachments of other people in me, in my lung. And we healed it. We released it. And now I'm not afraid to go out. I'm not afraid to, of course, distantly, but socialize. There is no pain. There is no fear. There is no terrifying feelings. I'm going to die. What is going to happen to me? So COVID re-traumatized, re-triggers our previous traumas, whatever or wherever they are. So if people feel lonely, if they feel scared to go out, if they have ongoing medical conditions which become worse, that can be addressed and helped with the transpersonal regression therapy.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel that on top of being traumatized, people seem to be re-traumatized. It's like there's some trauma underlying, and I feel even as humanity, it's like we are being re-traumatized. There's something that happened in our past as humanity that needs to be dealt with. And I feel like this is the ample time to deal with it. So what are some of the most amazing results you've seen from practicing this therapy?
Okay.
Yeah.
The man with the sore throat for years without antibiotics.
Yeah.
There was a lady, she is an artist, and she has an amazing work.
Yeah.
And she was afraid to show her work to the world. She had a website ready. Just click the button, open, and show your work to the world.
Yeah.
She was afraid. So after we've done some work with her, she sent me the website, and it's amazing. Her works is displayed. She tells the stories through her work.
Wow.
Another example, a lady living abroad in a foreign country felt trapped. She wanted to go back, but somehow she wasn't able to go back. So after one session, only after one session, few weeks later, she packed up and she just left the country. This is my personal experience as a therapist. But and there is another book by Hans ten Dam where he says 25 strange stories from the practice of a past life therapist, and these amazing stories he writes about, which comes from his personal practice.
Yeah. And what can you say about the history of this work in terms of ancient practice of this? You know, did ancient cultures practice this? Did African cultures practice this? Did, you know?
You know what? There is some journeys, which in a way connected to transpersonal regression therapy, like shamanic journeys, but not directly. But shamanic journeys were also done in Kenya. There is a history of it. I can't really speak much, but it came from different. It came from body work, from working on the body, releasing physical trauma from the body. It came also from past life regressions like Brian Weiss or Michael Newton, Life Between Lives. I think Hans ten Dam would be the best person to talk about history.
He's the father.
Yeah, he's the father, but he is the father of the modern transpersonal regression therapy, which combines a number of previous therapies.
But I also feel like there are different ways in which people practice regression, and regression is just going back. And as you're saying, there's been shamanic journeys happening in all cultures, I think, all ancient cultures. So it's something that can help us even in our modern culture right now. So what would you tell somebody who might be afraid of looking back at, because I think we have a very interesting love and hate relationship with the past. The past is what we build our future on if we change the way we look at it, but most of the times we look at the past as something I don't want to look at. Like we have some negative energy around the past. And so when you're telling somebody, here you're stuck in life and or you're in relationships or at work or you have money issues, let's look at your past. And that person goes into maybe fear and they're like, I don't want to go and look into that. What would you tell such a person?
Okay, if you really want to resolve your problem, where you're going to look? In the present, you have a problem. You could not have created the problem in the future. Have you?
No, you're not there yet.
Exactly. So where the problem comes? It comes from the past. And for some people who are afraid to look at in the past, I tell you, I came from also from that type. I didn't want, like 10 years ago, I don't want anybody to look in, messing up with my subconscious mind. But where I came from, and where I am now, I would never, ever change the journey or stay where I was before. So for all those people who are afraid to come, I will say, don't be afraid, because first, whatever is shown to you, the trauma, you can handle it, and you're not alone. And you discover in yourself so many riches which you never knew you had before. So just go for it, open yourself, explore it. try
Yeah.
and live your life differently. That if you're not satisfied with your life now, do
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah.
Try regression therapy, try aromatherapy, try something else.
Yeah. Try whatever works for you, but don't get stuck. You know, don't get stuck where you are. Thank you so much, Natalia. That has been an awesome interview. I was so curious about transpersonal regression therapy. And I'm sure I might actually do a session with you.
Please, you're very welcome. It will be my pleasure.
Yeah. So as usual, tell us how people can find you if they want to find you.
So people can only find me so far through my Facebook. I don't have my website running, not yet.
Yeah.
Yet, probably I need help with that. So through Facebook, my name is Natalia Sikalova. That's how you find me.
Yeah. Or you can find...
Or through Jicho TV, through
Jicho
Carolyne, please.
Yeah, or through us or through me, you can find Natalia. She can answer your questions on, you know, transpersonal regression therapy. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. We are very excited that you're watching us, you're sharing, you're commenting, you're liking, you're subscribing, and you're telling the world about this amazing show called Being Me that is helping you safeguard your mental and emotional well-being. And I am personally very grateful for every comment, for every like, and for every share. So until the next episode, it's bye-bye. I've been your host, Carolyne Gaithuma.